can the United States get away with almost anything it wants? Now, it's really down to one thing, and that's money. You see, the US dollar is the global reserve currency. Now, this means that the world's economy technically runs on dollars in international trade. You see, whether you buy oil, food, or technology from other countries, most of these transactions happen in dollars. But how did this happen? In July 1944, delegates from 44 countries gathered in what's known as the Bretton Woods Agreement. Now, here they decided that they would reshape the global financial system with the aims of preventing another Great Depression. The plan was that the dollar would become the center of the global financial system, and the dollar would be pegged to gold, and other currencies pegged to the dollar. So effectively, the world economy started to run on dollars. The conference also created two global institutions that still shape finance today. That's the International Monetary Fund, designed to stabilize currencies, and the World Bank, created to fund reconstruction and development. Now, in 1971, the system officially collapsed when Nixon ended the dollar's link to gold, and you'd think that this would send the world economy into a shock. But what happened here was that the dollar was still used as the world's global currency. As I mentioned at the beginning, most international trade is priced in dollars: oil, food, technology, etc. So governments hold huge dollar reserves, but instead of holding the dollar reserves, what they do is they buy US bonds. Now, a government bond is essentially a way for governments to borrow money, and so this means that countries are perpetually lending money to the United States, giving them a huge budget. Because the whole world needs dollars, it means that the US can borrow cheaply. It also means that global finance goes through American markets, and financial rules set by the US can control events worldwide. That's why financial sanctions are so powerful, because trade goes through dollars. So when the United States sanction other countries, it actually makes it incredibly difficult for that country to trade. In other words, control over the world's currency translates into strong geopolitical power. That's why you see the United States being able to leverage what it wants to do without much resistance from the rest of the world. But lastly, I want to introduce you to something called dollar recycling. Now, this is the idea that when the United States buys foreign goods in dollars, that country that they buy goods from then uses that money to buy government bonds. Then the US then uses that money to spend. So essentially, the United States have an infinite money glitch. And you might think, well, that isn't the way it works because loans have to be repaid. And that's true. You see, loans have an expiry date of maybe 1, 5, 10, 20 years. And when that expiry date comes, you do have to pay back the loan. However, what happens with government bonds is at that expiry date, a new bond gets issued. And so we have a system of perpetuating loans and perpetuating debt. Now, if you want to learn more about how the world works and your country works, then follow for more and share with a friend.